Back to a classic Talk to Me with Jimmy Myers on NewsTalk 1090 AM WILD online, where information is power.
All the stuff that's going on out there. All I got to do is look at the front page of the day's Globe. Gunfire from car wounds 3 young men. Well, we have 3 young men in studio. Young fathers. Young men who have children. Young men who walk within that community. They were raised here. They know what the streets are about. They are artists. The word artist is so loosely used, but when you sit there and listen to that piece of music called 4Peace, you start to understand in your mind that our young people can do it right. I do have hope that they will get it right. You hear me sometimes being critical of the foolishness, yes, but when I get an Edo.G Anderson, a D Quest, and I get an Antonio Twice Thou Ennis to sit down, 4 separate artists along with Wyatt Jackson, and they all sit down and say, look, let us come together. We may not even stay together that long, but we want to come together for collective good. We need to put a message out there. Mm-hmm. I got to find out, though, the lyrics. That Parabellum line. Mm-hmm. Twice Thou. Tell me, where did it come from, brother? That is deep.
It just came from me sitting there trying to uplift people and help people think of other words. You know what I mean? Like, to get deeper with your mind, basically. To think positive. To think school. To think using your brain.
What rapping person ever used cerebellum and parabellum in the same millennium? Forget the same paragraph.
We talking about Twice Thou. We knew exactly what we was getting ourselves into when he was on the record.
I said, as soon as I heard it, I said, now they've lifted me. I said, I know those 2 words.
Well, that's the thing, man. When I write, I want something to stand out. If it's one line, then so be it. But if that one line can raise your eyebrow and say, yo, well, I can get you thinking in the right way, then I did my job.
Mm-hmm. I am Jimmy Myers. We're in the studio with 4Peace, a group that wrote a record called Peace. We need this in our community. Chime into the conversation. Let's talk to Takwa from the highway. Good morning, Takwa. Talk to me.
Good morning, sir. This is Brother Takwa. I am an artist myself, and I saw these brothers perform at the New England Urban Music Awards.
Wow, sir.
And they did an excellent job and inspiration. It said that you are what you eat, or in the words of Jesus, as a man thinketh, so is he.
Oh, that's right.
Well, we need brothers like these brothers here and myself feeding us wholesome intellectual food.
That's right.
I run a company called HOT Artist Management, House of Takwa, and a positive female rapper under my management was also nominated among the top 3 for best female rapper. Wow. With a name like Takwa, that means God conscious. Mm-hmm. I can only manage stuff like that. And I want to say to you, brothers, 4Peace, yes. I'm also 4Peace, and we should join forces and get together with our efforts and see if we can collectively put Boston back on the map. Because you don't have to be on a big label, but I got a vision by which we can compete with the big labels and steal some of their market share. So holler at me. Jimmy, I'd like to come in and talk to you sometime, man, about the work that I'm doing that's right in sync with these brothers.
I would see we can do that.
We're going to do the right thing for Boston. This is what will also contribute towards solving the violence problem in this city. Because if we're glorifying the violence, the pimping and the thugging and the crime in the music, that's what we're feeding into their heads, and that's what they're going to try to act out. But brothers like this, feeding them the right food, that will grow them in the right way.
Thanks a lot.
It's not going to happen overnight.
No,
thank you so much.
Keep doing what you're doing, 4Peace.
Awesome.
I'm going to get out your head.
All right. Thank you so much, Takwa. I am Jimmy Myers. This is Talk to Me. Members of the group 4Peace, 3 of the 4 are in studio with us at this juncture. Edo.G. I got to get that part right. I love that. Edward Edo.G Anderson. Derek DQuest. All right. Antonio Twice Thou. I love that part. Ennis and regular old boring JDM Jimmy.
Never
Myers.
that. Jimmy Myers, y'all.
Gone. Well, I don't know how he got in there. There's a flying at ointment.
And it ain't Junior Mafia. It's Jimmy Myers.
Right.
Get it right.
Word.
Now, gentlemen, I put this question. I'll start with you, Edo.G. Was there a time in your lives when you were making music that you may feel, you look back on, I might have contributed to some of this stuff with my lyrics and so forth?
Not necessarily. Not me. I mean, I made a lot of positive records in my time. I've made, I don't think anybody pretty much took me too serious as a gangster or thugged out or anything. I would be more along the positive lines, since I kind of came out, man. But a point I want to make, I did a seminar at Harvard University years ago with the Reverend Calvin Butts.
Harvard?
At Harvard.
You went to Harvard Yard?
We did a seminar over there, man. And, I didn't really think that was at the time when Calvin Butts was running over the CDs and he was making a big stink about gangster rap and all of that. And, the whole point was, he said, your music really makes a difference. It can change people's lives. And I'm like, no, I don't think people can hear a record and talk about, shooting somebody and then go out and shoot somebody. Then he said, well, you made a record called Be a Father to Your Child. Do you think that it changed anybody's view? And I was like, well, yeah, it did. A lot of people did come up to me and say, yo, that record made a real difference in my life, blah, blah, blah. And I started thinking, like, well, wow, if I made a positive record and, people came up to me and talked about how it changed their life, I'm just imagining all of these negative records that's out there, how much it's affecting the youth and what they're, listening and sponging, soaking it up, because the youth are sponges. All they do is sit in front of, the TV, watch BET and just soak it up. You got little girls out there shaking their booties, that are 10, 11 years old, man, because of what they see on TV and what they hear on the radio.
And it's starting earlier. No question.
And by being a parent now, you got to look at it a little differently, don't you, DQuest? When you become a parent, something happens in your life that you're looking down that little thing that you made and you're saying, I could be the craziest person in the world, but I'm responsible for that little tiny person down there.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, I have a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old, and just to see them as reflections of me, I have to take care of them. I have to make sure that they're eating. I make sure that, that they're receiving the proper education, that their health care is everything has to be in place. You know what I mean? So you're absolutely right. When Edo said, you're having an impact on young people. You know what I'm saying? I have 2 kids that I have to look out for and make sure that they're getting everything that they need so that they can be successful.
And you would surely like to see their streets safer. You would surely like to know as you're sitting in the studio and they're on their way to school or they're sitting out in front of the house playing, you want to know that they're safe.
No question.
You want to know I live in a place where I can where I can hold my head up high and say, I don't have to worry about bullets being fired over my child's head, and I don't want to have to move all the way out to the suburbs to get this kind of safety. I want to be able to live amongst my people. Right. But Twice Thou, I got to get to you for a second. You're a businessman, entrepreneur. You've gone through the whole thing. As he mentioned earlier in the program, if you didn't hear it, his store was selling the Stop Snitching T-shirts. Got the light hit him. He said, look, I got to change this. But also, too, give me the age range of your daughters. You got 5 daughters?
I got a 19-year-old daughter that's in college right now.
Okay.
And then I got a 9-year-old. And then I have a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 3-year-old. That's why I was late this morning, because I had to take my 5 and my 3 to school. You know what I mean? And
you are forgiven, brother. You are forgiven. That's a good father.
That's what I got to do. Like, that was more important. I knew they was going to hold it down. So, it made it that much more easier. But I think you would be a fool to be a father or call yourself a father or a parent and not want these streets to be safer for your kids.
Particularly women, though. I mean, remember, it's our job as men to protect our women. Now, you're a father. You got to protect all 5 of them. And you're sending one off to college.
Yeah.
I don't even want to think about. I don't want to think about the lessons. I don't want to think about that conversation, guys. Yeah. I'm holding 2 fathers back, and these 2 brothers, 2 younger fathers back. I'm holding. I don't even want to think about that conversation you had Twice Thou before she went. Young lady, you and Mom and I are gonna have one talk with you about this.
Man, I had to drop my daughter and her boyfriend off last night back at school. You know what I mean? So I'm caught in the middle of being an understanding father and being like, trying to understand what she's going through right now. So I have to accept the fact that she has a boyfriend. And I have to just be there for her as opposed to being mad and having problems with him and making the situation worse.
But she's still your little girl.
She's my little girl. She's always going to be my little girl.
That's right. And I will be there if anything happens.
I'm definitely there.
The violence.
No, we're not talking about violence. No, we're not talking about the babies. It's going down. We will have to talk about this. We will not change the structure of our videos, but we will talk to you if anything happens to our daughters, because that's our job.
That's why the promotion of peace is that much more needed. You know what I mean? You know, that's why I'm fully with that, man.
I am Jimmy Myers. This is Talk to Me here on News Talk 1090 WILD AM. Let me update you what we're doing. The group is called 4Peace. They've just did a recording called Start Peace. These are 4 independent. And when I say independent, I'm talking about 4 independently successful young men. They've already had success in their own musical careers on an individual level.
Yes.
They decided to come together and say, look, when these young brothers got killed up in Dorchester, we need to do something. They got killed in a music studio trying to make a music video, and I know this touched all of your hearts because you're musicians. You lost young artists.
One of those kids actually used to work for me, man. So it really touched me, even beyond that. He was an employee in my store.
And
that was the Edwin Duncan kid.
And it tears your heart out when you see something like this happen. But instead of going out to the street, packing some guns, say, look, we got to go find this person. You 4 come together and say, look, let's do something positive with this. Let's try to move us a little bit forward and talk to our young people. Now, my question to you, can this generation, can these young people that are behind you now, can they relate? Can they get it?
They should be able to get it, and I think they could get it. I mean, when you ask the question about the songs that we've done in the past, do we think we have anything to, to do with that? Like, I could say yeah, because Made Men RSO, our lyrics were pretty rough. So I could say, yeah, I probably did influence some kids to want to be tough, to want to be gangster. You know what I mean? But now, as you get older, you start to see things a little differently. As you get kids and you know what's really real, you start to see things differently. So
does it hurt you sometimes when you look back and if you could do it over again, you say, I certainly wouldn't do this? Or do you just look at your life?
I would do some things differently.
Really?
I would do some things differently.
It takes a man to admit that, though,
no
twice
doubt.
now. It really does.
I'm a man.
It takes a man to admit that because we all look at our lives and, sometimes we're a little arrogant and say, I wouldn't change anything. Because a lot of times I tell myself I wouldn't change anything for the things that I've stood up for. But as a man who has fought for his people, a lot of times I've had so many battles in this world that you guys work in over the lyrics, over the things that are written about our women. And I try to say, do you understand? I've even talked to rappers, say, brothers, do you understand what you're saying? Do you realize that some people young person is going to hear that and they're going to think that's the way it is? And I think you touched on it twice now, and you just said, look, you're right. Sometimes it takes us to see the light. Malcolm saw the light.
Yeah.
I mean, Malcolm started one way and saw the light. Other people see the light. And I just want to mention that because Minister Don Muhammad chimed in. He wanted to congratulate all of you gentlemen and said he truly, truly is on point with your message about working with people, the unity within the community, and working with people with like minds.
Beautiful.
Edo.G,
yes.
As you look at this now, and, I'm just trying to more or less get a gauge of this. What is the next step here? Where do we go from here? Once this hits, and it's already hit, and I want to be one of the people to say, I was one of the first ones to play this.
Right.
I'm happy. Where do we go from here now?
Well, we're going to really promote this heavy this summer because we want, before the summer even starts, we want to put a curve on the violence right now. We want to get into people's heads that we want to have a safe, happy summer. You know what I mean? So we're going to be performing in August. We're going to be performing at the annual hip hop event down City Hall. I didn't even let the brothers know yet.
we found out about our last show on the air.
The last show we learned about that on the air.
So
this is the president we're trusting the programmer. Guys, show up tomorrow afternoon, 3:00. Why? The president wants to talk to. You didn't tell us the president wanted to. Thanks a lot, Edo.
It happens like that sometimes.
That's how it is, man.
Okay.
But yeah, we're gonna be performing a whole lot this summer. Hopefully, we can do a couple of block parties or something, man, where we can get the youth out there for free. We don't want them to pay to have to come see us. I want it to be free, and I want them to come out and just get the message. You know what I mean? So we're gonna do a lot of stuff this year, man, in the summer.
DQuest, how can people get the CD?
Well,
Twice now. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Twice now.
Well, right now before we get the CD, I just want to say we're trying to get a video done.
Okay.
And my big thing is we need support for that. This song was budgeted off of our own pocket money.
Yes,
you know what I mean? And that's not a lot, to be totally honest with you.
Well, I think we have a man that you may be interested in talking to, Mr. Sproul. I think
I know. I've done work with Rob too.
And he'll get it done for you. He's a good man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's what we need. Once we get the video out there, we're gonna press up some CDs, and you'll be able to get the CDs online at AntonioAsaldi.com and at your local record store.
Excuse me, I have mine. If you think you get my promotion away, no. Oh, that's yours, Tony. Well, I'm hoping there will not be. I can't perpetuate any violence against my man. No, there's no violence in our studio. That's my man. I can't let anything happen to him. I am Jimmy Myers here on News Talk 1090 WILD AM, where information is power. Got a little bit more time to chime in on 4Peace.
A classic talk today with Jimmy Myers on News Talk 1090 AM WILD online. Now on YouTube. Radio 1 celebrating 30 years of service to the African American communities. The Osiris Group proudly presents Families Do Matter with your hosts Larry and Deborah Hickenbottom. Sundays from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern on News Talk 1090 AM WILD Boston, where information is power. Hours of Black Talk Power from an African American perspective. The People's Attorney Warren Valentine from the True Fighters. Weekday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern, followed by the Reverend Al Sharpton. Weekday afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern on 1090 AM WILD Boston, where information is power.